For 45 years, the San Francisco 49ers have brought a unique harmony to the Bay Area sports scene. They have composed tunes of glory while showcasing incomparable solo artists. The 49ers have produced a long-running thrill show that has featured some of the most glamorous and exciting performers that pro football has ever seen. Heart and hustle have always been the hallmarks of a breathtaking style of play that has carried the 49ers headlong into the imaginations of Bay Area sports fans. Nail-biting finishes and last-second rescues have loomed over the bright horizons that mark the landscape of 49er history.
10 seconds left. The Lions lead it, 31-28. All right, again, Owens flank to the right. This has got to be the alley-oop. There's no time for anything else. Tittle throws. Owens is double teamed. He's going downfield near the goal line. He goes up. He's got it. A great catch. They got it.
Unofficially 8 seconds left. The ball at the Lions' 21. Brody back to pass. They rush him. He steps up. He throws. Stickles at him. Touchdown 49ers. Touchdown 49ers. Marty Stickles.
Montana rolling out the right, looking toward the end zone, throwing under pressure, throws his pass. Caught by Clark. Clark got him, touchdown. Dwight Clark has it. It's a touchdown for the 49ers.
Over the course of 45 years, San Francisco has mined a deep and rich vein of pure football gold. The history of the San Francisco 49ers has its roots in the old All-American Conference, where the team began play in 1946. It has always been one of the most stable franchises, thanks to the original owners, Vic and Tony Morabito. The brothers made the team an extension of their personal family and established unique relationships with players.
He offered me $9,500 to play for the Rams. And Tony at this particular time says, we're a new league and all I can offer you is $4,500. So I turned down $5,000 to play with the 49ers and on a handshake, and which I never regretted. That was a love that I had for Tony, and we respected each other.
Buck Shaw was the 49ers' first head coach, and the team stars were Len Eschmont, John Strakowski, and quarterback Frankie Albert, number 63. In 1950, the team joined the National Football League, and its roster was filled with colorful characters. One of the most colorful was a linebacker named Hardy Brown.
He was what you call a killer football player, and believe me, he put many a man out.
If he set his sights on some end coming down to receive a ball, Hardy would uncork his shoulder and almost decapitate him.
Just as formidable was Bob Sinclair, number 79, a man-eating tackle and future Hall of Famer.
He got to be known as Geek, you know, like the guy that's supposed to eat anything in the carnival. So he always would like to shock guys by eating raw meat or meat with blood on it or whatever.
Leo the Lion Nomalini was the toughest of all. Number 73 was a perennial All-Pro and the first 49er defensive player inducted into the Hall of Fame. Number 14, Y.A. Tittle, directed the 50s attack. And Gordy Saltaw and number 84, Billy Wilson, were his favorite receivers. But receivers were just faces in the crowded 49er huddle.
I can remember when Tittle came to the 49ers, and we had myself, McElhenney, and John Henry Johnson. And God, if you had been in the huddle then, you would have heard something like, "Give me the ball. No, give me the ball. No, it's my turn to carry the ball."
Number 35, John Henry Johnson, attacked defenders, scattering them like rats in a fire. And while Johnson was a bumper car, Joe the Jet Perry was built for speed.
Basically a small team, but an explosive team. Our plays were so quick hitting, we were there and gone.
No one disappeared faster than Hugh McElhenney, who proved a king could beat four aces. The closest this explosive team came to a title was 1957, a year they displayed fantastic finishing kicks. But leading the Detroit Lions 24-7 at halftime, the 49ers collapsed, and Detroit won the Western Championship 31-27. Red Hickey became head coach in 1959, and in the early 60s, the 49ers employed his unique shotgun formation, which poured out points from both barrels. Although the drumbeat of defeat continued, the 49ers had tough players for these tough times. On defense, there was middle linebacker Ed Beard, defensive tackle Charlie Kruger, number 70, All-Pro cornerback Jimmy Johnson, and All-Pro linebacker Dave Wilcox, number 64. These men and others produced golden moments in losing seasons.
Plum back to pass, has plenty of time. Looks, now he's rolling out to the near side, being chased, and he's swarmed under, loses the football. It's picked up by Clark Miller. He's to the 40, to the 50. He'll go all the way for a touchdown for the 49ers. Clark Miller going for the touchdown as he was being chased by Ted Karras.
The lean years were also shaped by exciting offense. John David Crow and Ken Willard were hard-nosed running backs. And there was also one of the era's most spectacular receivers, Dave Parks, number 81. Quarterback John Brody charted a clear course through often murky waters. But the 49ers washed up on the beach in this decade, failing to win a Western Conference title. Then, in 1968, the flood tide of defeat began to ebb when they hired a bright young head coach named Dick Nolan. Finally, there was renewed hope in San Francisco. The 1970s began at a fever pitch for Bay Area football fans. Dick Nolan's Niners became kings of the NFC Western Division, and their crowns remained firmly in place for 3 consecutive seasons. During this period, the 49ers specialized in opportunistic plays and long-distance touchdowns. Electrifying youngsters like defensive back and special teams standout Bruce Taylor, number 44, the NFC's Rookie of the Year in 1970, helped ignite the Niners, while old hand John Brody lit the fuse for the team's quick-striking offense. In 1970, Brody led the league in passing, was sacked just 8 times, and commanded an imposing arsenal of offensive weapons that included tight end Ted Kwolek and wide receiver Gene Washington, number 18. In the final regular season contest of 1970, the Niners clinched the division title by beating the Raiders in Oakland.
Back to pass goes Brody. Looks, throws for Kwolek. He's there. Touchdown, 49ers. Brody back to pass. He has time. He looks. He throws for Washington. Washington is there. He's got it. Touchdown, 49ers. Oh, what a catch. What a catch he made.
The 38-7 win propelled the 49ers into wintry Minnesota for their first ever NFL playoff appearance. Many experts predicted the Niners would freeze up, But Brody left the Vikings out in the cold by engineering a 17-14 upset victory.
Brody is back to pass. He looks for Washington. Now for Witcher, wide open. Touchdown, 49ers.
Dallas shattered San Francisco's Super Bowl dreams in 1970 and 1971. But in the 1972 NFC playoffs, number 22 Vic Washington's game-opening kickoff return suggested that the Cowboy jinx would finally be broken. Late in the game, however, Dallas overcame a big 49er lead. And in the wake of this heartbreaking defeat came a period of decline. Age caught up with the team's nucleus of veteran performers, and injuries and retirement left a void that would take years to fill. But defensive ends Cedric Hardman and Tommy Hart were two holdovers from the title years who gave the faithful something to shout about during an era of uncertainty. In 1976, Hardman, number 86, and Hart, number 53, paced the Gold Rush as San Francisco led the NFL with 61 sacks. That same season, number 24, Delvin Williams, became the first 49er since J.D. Smith in 1959 to rush for over 1,000 yards. But while the Fleet Williams was always on the move, the 49ers as a team seemed to be going nowhere fast. 1977 saw Edward J. DeBartolo Jr. of Youngstown, Ohio, purchase the club. This successful businessman and devoted family man would bring about profound changes in the operation of the franchise, which would make the club one of the finest in the NFL.
Absentee ownership, I don't believe in that, and I am going to be a very active owner. We're going to be very, very competitive. We're going to get high-caliber football players like we've had in the past here.
The most significant change occurred in 1979, when DeBartolo hired Bill Walsh as head coach and general manager. Walsh's innovative offensive strategies provided the proper tonic for an ailing attack.
He's going to sprint and try to control a strong safety and give decent room to run in that area. But this guy will be playing outside. I don't know what's going to happen to him, but I do know that the changeup will give him trouble coming on the weak side of the formation.
Although the Niners managed only 8 victories during Walsh's first 2 seasons, their proficiency in moving the football gained them respect and provided persuasive evidence that a turnaround was imminent. Walsh refined the talents of veterans such as Freddie Solomon, number 88, and Paul Hofer, number 36, while the head coach's own draft choices, especially quarterback Joe Montana and wide receiver Dwight Clark, matured quickly in the new system. The team's developing cohesiveness was dramatically demonstrated in 1980's 14th week, when the Niners trailed the Saints by 28 points at halftime, then stormed back to post an overtime win and the greatest comeback in NFL history.
Montana back to throw. Big rush put on. He throws. He completes it underneath to Dwight Clark. He's the 40, the 45. He's the 50. He goes to the 40. It's a foot race. The 30. The 10, the 5, touchdown, 49ers. Back to throw Montana. He's being rushed. Look out, he throws. He has Solomon open at the 5, breaks the tackle, goes the outside, touchdown, 49ers. Elliott trying to find some room. He does. He goes in for the touchdown. Oh, Elliott put on a brilliant move at about the 6-yard line. Well, I said at the start of the second half, this was either going to be one of the greatest stories in 49er history or a very terrible football game. It is approaching being one of the great stories. This will be just outside the 25. Montana to place the ball down. It is high, placed down. It's kicked. It is long enough. It is good! Ray Wersching with the greatest comeback the 49ers have made as they win it by a score of 38-35.
Coming from behind like this could last the 49ers many years from the standpoint those veteran players will recall that they did come from that far behind, and I think give the team a certain amount of poise and confidence in future years when we are behind and must come back and win.
In the seasons ahead, Walsh's words would prove to be prophetic indeed. San Francisco has been the home of great stars as well as great teams. Enough stars to form a galaxy. In the 1950s, the 49ers produced the first Hall of Fame backfield. There was Hugh McElhenny, the King, Joe Perry, the Jet, and Y.A. Tittle, the Bald Eagle. A quarterback so talented that he dislodged a hometown hero.
Y.A. was just younger and better and stronger and pushed me aside. Bulldog tenacity, a real strong arm, one of the finest competitors.
Although Tittle was a precision passer who perfected the famed alley-oop, his role, more often than not, was simply to give the football to some of the greatest runners in pro football history. Number 34, Joe Perry, showed his back to defenders for 11 seasons. Aptly named the Jet, Perry was the 49ers' first 1,000-yard runner and their all-time leading ground gainer. Perry, a world-class sprinter, believed the shortest distance to 6 points was a straight line. His running mate, Hugh McElhenny, often navigated across the whole field. His runs were jailbreaks, filled with intricate escape routes and booby traps for his potential captors.
He could make the most exciting run of any one player I have ever seen. All you had to do is to break him into the open and then really get the people out of his way. We claimed that he had eyes in the back of his head because the moves that he made were phenomenal.
Hugh was rightfully named when they call him the King, at least with us. He was the king. The guy was the finest open field runner I've ever seen in 30 years of football, and all of Hugh's teammates would feel about the same.
There was a bounty placed on his head, but defenders could not cut off his legs. Those legs made every run a memorable adventure, and woven together, those runs form a tapestry that will forever stretch across the history of pro football. There have been few greater natural athletes than the King. And in 1961, the 49ers' #1 draft pick was also a natural, a gifted runner from UCLA. But number 37, Jimmy Johnson, was needed more as a receiver than a runner and made a dramatic transformation. A few years later, the 49ers needed help on defense, and the versatile Johnson assumed the most vulnerable position, cornerback. Johnson became a perennial All-Pro at cornerback and ended his 16-year career as the team's #2 all-time interceptor, as well as a prime candidate for the Hall of Fame. The same may someday be said about Dwight Clark, who retired in 1987. He was both a position receiver and a deep threat. He could find wide open spaces or create space in the funhouse magic of the secondary. and those multiple talents were greatly appreciated during Clark's tenure with the team.
Dwight Clark, I believe, is the best all-around receiver in football today. And there are obviously those who run faster, although he has very misleading speed. But his adjustments, getting open, his concentration, his know-how, his ability to make the big play when it counts. I don't think there's anyone in the league that does any better than he can do.
Certainly Dwight Clark would be the most impressive person who came out of nowhere. He was a late-round pick and now is one of the top receivers in football. He's done it just on tremendous determination and poise, but also he has much more ability than people give him credit for.
Dwight Clark didn't always win every sprint, but he could beat anyone to a football in flight. Neither catch nor contact deterred number 87, and he was at his best in the clutch.
He can read defense as well, and once he makes up his mind, he goes with it and sticks with it, and usually he's right. And it makes it easy on a quarterback. He's very easy to read, and he's a big target.
Dwight Clark's rise from obscurity to stardom earned him a permanent place on All-Pro teams and in the 49ers record book.
Montana's ready. He's going back to pass. Looks to the right. Throws in the right corner. And Clark with a leaping catch. Has it for a touchdown. 49ers! Dwight Clark has become the all-time career receiver for the 49ers. And listen to this crowd.
The glory trail blazed by Dwight Clark was the same path taken by the 49ers, who went from losers to champions. And one player who inspired Bill Walsh's team during the barren times was a gritty running back named Paul Hofer.
We would not have become world champions and attained the heights that we attained without Paul. The standard he set was one that many people identified with as we improved as a football team. So it was the standard he set and the work ethic that he developed that was a standard for everyone. And an example for everyone, and consequently, people like Paul Hofer made the difference for San Francisco.
This obscure 11th round draft choice stirred the long-suffering 49ers, forging trails out of a wasteland of defeat.
I don't think I've ever seen a better all-around back for blocking, running, and receiving. Of course, he was the difference in the 49ers. He helped us get on our feet.
He wasn't the fastest running back, and he probably didn't have all the skills that some of the real great running backs had. But I'll tell you what, when it came down to giving the ball to a guy in a tough situation, I would probably take Paul Hofer.
In a sport dominated by high-voltage performers, Paul Hofer was a small, bright light. Yet his light burned intensely enough to lead the 49ers out of the dark and toward a new horizon. Following an injury, Hofer returned in 1981, but was hurt again and unable to make the final journey to Super Bowl 16.
I consider myself very, very fortunate to be on a Super Bowl team and to have played even in the bad years, because there's something very special about being on a team, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Another 49er who searched in vain for the Golden Fleece wore number 12 over 3 decades. From 1957 till his retirement in 1973, John Brodie stood on the brink, but never the summit of pro football.
Let's go with it, come on. Let's get with it. Come on. You all right? X reverse, fullback, screen right. On one, ready, break. Here he comes. Set! 323! 323! Blitz, blitz!
John Brodie endured many knockdowns, but never any knockouts. Many times down, but never down and out.
Wing delay, fullback corner on one. Ready, break. 395, 395.
Red trip, green trip, rock.
Here he comes. Hut.
John Brodie rose to the occasion many times in a career that began in the late 50s. A career that saw him become one of the most prolific passers in 49er history. Brodie's ability to feather passes with little margin for error allowed him to throw for over 31,000 yards and 214 touchdowns. For 17 seasons, Brodie witnessed the good, the bad, and the ugly of pro football. But even the darkest times brought out the brightest in Brodie. In 1972, in the final quarter of the final game, he relieved starting quarterback Steve Spurrier and rallied the 49ers to a division-clinching victory over the Minnesota Vikings. The win was the last hurrah for this most resilient of quarterbacks, and the last title the 49ers would hold for nearly a decade. After the 1973 season, John Brodie retired, leaving behind him a rich legacy that set high standards for future 49ers. The true measure of this man was not the ledger of victories or defeats, but the spirit with which he played his sport. In 1981, the 49ers opened the door to the most triumphant decade in team history. They claimed 9 playoff berths, 8 NFC Western Division titles, and 4 world championships. At the beginning of that decade of greatness, numerous factors contributed to the Niners' consistent level of excellence, including an outstanding offensive line.
We're nice guys to meet. We're pretty friendly people, but don't turn your back on us.
Cross, number 51, John Ayers, number 68, Fred Quillen, number 56, Keith Fonhorst, number 71, and Bubba Paris provided Joe Montana with the kind of expert pass protection that enabled him to become the top-rated quarterback in pro football history.
He wasn't a great player at Notre Dame just by passing through town. His greatness shows up. It showed up there, and it showed up since he probably first put on a male supporter.
Montana was also supported by talented receivers, such as Dwight Clark, number 87, Freddie Solomon, Russ Francis, and Jerry Rice, number 80, the NFC's Rookie of the Year in 1985. That same season, versatile Roger Craig, number 33, became the first player in NFL history to gain over 1,000 yards in both rushing and receiving. While Craig and Wendell Tyler, number 26, helped the offense display the wings of Mercury, the defense wielded the hammer of Thor. In 1981, the stunning play of rookie defensive backs Ronnie Lott, number 42, Eric Wright, and Carlton Williamson helped spark the 49ers to an NFL-best 16-3 record. The defense was also fueled by Keena Turner, Dwayne Board, Dwight Hicks, number 22, Jack Reynolds, and Fred Dean. During the 1981 season, the Niners overcame their overall lack of experience by demonstrating an abundance of determination.
Well, this team's real young, obviously, and they have a lot of enthusiasm, and
they've got an extra thing of never die. I don't know what it is. They just won't die.
Trailing in the waning seconds of the 1981 championship game, the 49ers drew upon their never-say-die spirit to make good on a long-standing IOU to the Dallas Cowboys.
So fasten your seatbelts now. We've got turbulence and plenty of it here in Candlestick Park now. Montana rolling out the right, looking toward the end zone, throwing under pressure, throws his pass. Caught by Clark. Clark got a touchdown. Dwight Clark has it. It's a touchdown for the 49ers.
Talk about being champions from July 7th. We're champions right now. We got one more to go. Congratulations for a tremendous effort. Tremendous.
Here's Montana ready now from the 11-yard line. Going toward the end zone, caught on the run by Cooper. He's got it. He's in the end zone. A 49er touchdown.
In Super Bowl 16, a tenacious goal line stand helped secure a 26-21 victory over Cincinnati. 3 years after their first ever world championship, the 49ers again marched to glory, and this time they did it in historic fashion by claiming an NFL record 18 victories in 19 games. This team dominated both sides of the line of scrimmage, rolling up an NFC high 475 points while fielding the league's toughest defense to score on. That defense shut out the Chicago Bears in the NFC Championship game and keyed a 24-0 win.
Kill him!
Here's Montana rolling out the right side, looking toward the end zone. Now throwing, fires. It's caught by Solomon. Touchdown for the 49ers!
In Super Bowl 19, the Niners out-hit and out-distanced the Miami Dolphins.
It is caught by Monroe. He's down the 10 to the 5. He's into the end zone for a touchdown for the 49ers. From the 28-yard line, Marino drops back to throw a pass. He fires to the goal line, and it is intercepted. Picked off by Eric Wright. Here comes Marino rolling right away from the pressure again. He throws into the end zone, and it is intercepted. It is picked off by Carlton Williamson. Going back to pass on 3rd and 10 Montana. Looks over the left side. Caught by Craig on the way to the end zone, and Craig goes in for the score. Touchdown, 49ers.
World champ.
A unique ability to work hand-in-hand produced a 38-16 victory that firmly established the 49ers as one of the truly outstanding teams of the 1980s.
I really believe that the successes of the San Francisco 49ers over the years have been because of the tradition that we've enjoyed and also the great fan support that we've received in San Francisco. And I truly believe that in the 1980s and beyond, the team and the franchise will go to greater heights and maintain the greatness that we've all enjoyed.
Eddie DeBartolo's mid-80s prediction only hinted at the incredible heights that the 49ers would reach by the end of the decade. But that quest to become team of the decade was a tough one. In the 1986 season, the team's hopes crashed to earth, along with their quarterback.
37 seconds to go. Montana inside the 10. Throws wildly. Intercepted. There goes Taylor down to the 20. 10. Touchdown. And Montana's hurt. Montana's hurt.
In 1987, individual stars continued to shine as Jerry Rice set new NFL records with 22 receiving touchdowns and scoring receptions in 13 consecutive games. But the 13-2 squad still failed to return to the summit, a goal that was pulled from their grasp by the Minnesota Vikings in the NFC playoffs. In 1988, It took a gritty and painful climb to finally reach the top again. There were disheartening mid-season losses, and head coach Bill Walsh appeared more melancholy than Hamlet. And while his team was pushed back on its heels, his quarterback Joe Montana fell flat on his back. Joe seemed not so nimble, not so quick. They jumped all over him at Candlestick. So his tired legs were replaced by the spry ones of Steve Young.
Young, back to throw. In trouble, he's going to be sacked. No, gets away. He runs, gets away again, goes to the 40. Gets away again, to the 35, cuts back at the 30, to the 20, the 50, the 10. He dives, touchdown, 49ers.
But while Steve Young could win games, only Joe Montana could win championships.
Joe finds a way to come out on top. Every time that he has to deal with adversity, he slaps it off like John Wayne.
He's like a great racehorse. A great racehorse knows when it's a Kentucky Derby. They know when it's important. They know for some reason there's a lot of money on the line.
It's on you! It's on you! It's on you, baby!
And you put Joe Montana in a big game, I don't care if you've had him in an isolation cell for 10 days before that, he'll go out on that field and he'll know it's important and he'll play good.
The 49ers hadn't won a playoff game in 3 years. But in the postseason rematch with the Vikings, Montana threw 3 touchdown passes to Jerry Rice as the 49ers breezed, barely mussing their hair. A smile returned to Bill Walsh, and the spring never left Roger Craig's legs. In that resounding 34-9 victory, the quiet man issued the loudest challenge.
Teams that have beaten another team by a big margin have come back the next week and played terrible. And that is not going to happen to this ball club. I ain't bullshit. We've opened the door. We're going to go through it next week, and we're going to kick ass and take no prisoners the week after. That's right.
Montana on third down, back to throw. They rush, he steps up, he throws, has Rice open, he makes the catch, he gets away at the 40, in the foot race, 30, they won't catch him, it's touchdown, 49ers!
In the NFC Championship game, the 49ers chased away the cold Chicago winds and blew past the Bears. And as twilight turned into night, San Francisco turned into victors. The 28-3 win placed the 49ers within sight of their third world championship during the 80s. A victory would lay claim to the title Team of the Decade. The stage was set for Super Bowl 23.
Yes! Y-E-S spells yes! We're going to Miami winning!
Shaped by Bill Walsh's concepts and led by a quarterback who could put these ideas into action, the San Francisco 49ers were poised and confident.
Everyone must have a ticket. Have a great stay here in Miami.
Bengal head coach Sam Weish had transformed a 4-11 band of forgotten men into AFC champions, and more importantly, had replenished their self-respect. A third Super Bowl win would make San Francisco the team of the decade. A Bengals win would fulfill a season-long dream for Cincinnati.
Governmental L5 just take left. Move L2. Time it up now. Ready? Run.
Two-time Super Bowl MVP Joe Montana, NFC Player of the Year Roger Craig, and the absolutely uncoverable Jerry Rice. San Francisco's talented trio against Cincinnati's punishing rookie, Ickey Woods. In the first half of Super Bowl 23, it was the 49ers' galaxy of stars that shined most brilliantly. Like comets, they streaked across wide open skies, only to crash back to earth.
Third down, the give to Craig on a sweep. He's the 40, 45, 50, 45, fumbles the ball, and the Bengals have it, I think, at the 41-yard line. So Johnson will...
2 Super Bowl records were set on one play. Lee Johnson's record 63-yard punt was brought back by John Taylor for a record 45 yards.
15 goes to the 10, he picks it up, gets away from a man, gets away from another, gets away from another, comes to the 30, he has a man on run, he's at the 40, he cuts back at the 50.
Cincinnati couldn't match their opponent's big play for big play, but they eagerly matched them hit for hit. The Niners settled for a 3-3 halftime tie because none of their big plays ended in the end zone. The trend continued in the second half.
Rolling out has time, it's tipped in the air, intercepted by the 49ers.
Bill Romanowski's interception produced only a field goal, and later, Jerry Rice's acrobatic reception brought oohs and ahs, but no points. While San Francisco jabbed and danced, Stanford Jennings delivered the haymaker.
25-30, look out, he'll go out and he's gone. It'll be a 97-yard touchdown run for Stanford Jennings.
Great teams aren't great all the time. They're just great when they have to be. But even the greatest of teams need a little luck. Number 24, Lewis Billups, let Montana off the hook, and Joe burnt him on the very next play.
Montana is back to throw. Quick pass for Rice. Got it out of bounds. Touchdown, 49ers.
Trailing by 3 points with 3:10 left. San Francisco needed Joe Montana to drive them 92 yards to win. 70 million thought he could. 10 others in the huddle knew he would.
There's a lot staring them in the face. Montana throws over the middle, completes it to Craig. Craig is to the 16. Joe back to throw, steps up, throws out here for Rice. He has it at midfield, goes out of bounds at about the 46.
2nd and 20. Dire straits, even for the decade's winningest team.
Second down. 49ers have to go to the 25 for a first down. They're at the 45. Montana back to throw. Throws over the middle. A fine catch by Rice. Rice into the 20. He's down to the 19. Another brilliant catch by Jerry Rice.
Whether it happens now or not, to watch Joe Montana do this and to watch this absolute surgeon on the football field and one of the all-time greats do his thing again, it's almost like poetry.
At the 10-yard line, 39 seconds remaining. Back to throw Montana. Steps up, throws. They brought Jerry Rice in motion from right to left. A couple guys followed Rice. One man was on Taylor. He ran a post pattern and Montana hit him in stride.
In Super Bowl 23, the San Francisco 49ers once again scaled the heights of football greatness and stood alone at the summit.
And the 49ers have won the Super Bowl. The 49ers with 3 Super Bowl victories in the 1980s as they win it on a brilliant 98-yard drive, 20-16.
A team of young men filled with promise, old veterans filled with pride, and a coach whose vision of perfection is now part of history.
In one that may signify the end of Bill Walsh's career as he and Sam Weiss walk off the field together.
Tough moment in a way, because was this the final game on the sideline for a great coach, Bill Walsh? Emotional moment right now with the coach down here inside the locker room, Jack.
Bill Walsh retired, leaving a legacy of greatness that new head coach George Seifert, along with Joe Montana and the squad, would build on during the next season. In fact, in 1989, no one could touch San Francisco's quarterback. He completed 70% of his throws for 26 touchdowns, and his passing efficiency was the best in NFL history. And under George Seifert's leadership, the defending champions never lost their hunger. They played with an intensity that made Seifert the winningest rookie head coach in the history of the league.
He's to the 40. He's got a blocker in front of him. He's to the 10. He's to the 5. It's a touchdown. John Taylor, another spectacular touchdown.
In the NFC West, it was all one-way traffic on the road to the Super Bowl, as the 49ers won the division and made the playoffs for the 8th time in the decade. There, they crushed the Vikings, the NFL's #1 defense, 41-13. The team of the 80s continued their march toward the first Super Bowl of the 90s. Only Jim Everett and the talented Rams stood in their way.
We're going to set our own standards today. We're not going to play at that level. We're going to establish a level of play that is great, and we're going to maintain it throughout this whole game. Let's go, y'all. Let's go.
Everett puts it on his hip, throws for the long one. He's got a receiver. Anderson and Ronnie Lott got there just in the nick of time. What a play by Lott. Montana steps back, throws for the end zone. Brett Jones all alone. Touchdown 49ers.
Montana just knows where everybody's going to be before they get there. And he's like about 4 or 5 frames ahead of what you're seeing.
Oh, my, what a pass completion. 18-yard touchdown pass.
He hasn't thrown a ball harder than that all year with more velocity on it. He has not thrown a better pass than that.
No standing around, no buying a ticket. 3 and out, baby. 3 and out.
The 49ers in complete control, and the way they're playing on the field, I tell you, they're just pounding the Rams down.
Yeah, they own this ball game right now because the Rams are just almost conceding physically, it seems.
And the cry now in the crowd is no longer beat LA, it is New Orleans, New Orleans.
Super Bowl, Niners, Super Bowl!
Yeah! Gumbo, here we come in New Orleans!
オレンジのユニフォームがデンバーブロンコス、オレンジクラッシュ、強力なディフェンスを持ちまして、このスーパーボウルまで駒を進めました。サンフランシスコ 49ers、こちらの方はやはりエースクォーターバックジョー・モンタナです。
E ovviamente tutto il peso di questo va sulla difesa nel fermare Joe Montana.
Sverige, Norge, Danmark. Här är det Super Bowl från Louisiana Superdome i New Orleans.
We worked our ass off for all year. Let's go out there and have some fun. That's all. Just relax, have some fun, and play our ass off.
We know we're the best team. Let's just go out and prove it today. We got to play hard, play within your limits. Go out and kick some out of here.
Montana rolls to the right. He's got 2 men in the formation out there. Can't find him. Comes back across the middle. Complete to right. Into the end zone. Touchdown 49ers after bouncing off a defender.
In Super Bowl 24, San Francisco proved themselves masters of the game right from the start.
Montana rolls to his right, throws to Brett Jones. Great catch. He's into the end zone. Touchdown 49ers.
At the heart of the 49ers' domination was a flawless game plan. A steady rhythm of plays drummed out against an overmatched opponent. Leading 13-3 early in the second quarter, the Niners unleashed Tom Rathman, who sustained the beat all the way to the end zone.
Texas? Oh, no, I didn't get tossed, man. Yeah, you did. You got 2 guys hammered you. One Woody caught. Oh, on Scat, Texas. 23? 22. Let's go. Let's overcome now. Come on. Find a way.
Black 59 Razor! Black 59 Razor! 39-7.
Craig in motion to the right. Pump fake by Montana. Launches it for the end zone. Jerry Rice! Oh, what a catch by Rice!
With 40 seconds left in the half, the game's deadliest passer hit the game's most lethal receiver. 30 minutes separated San Francisco from its greatest victory and Denver from its darkest defeat.
And the Denver Broncos are going to be a very depressed group when they go to the locker room now. They won't even like the Snoopy halftime show.
Go, baby. Keep the pressure on. Keep the pressure on. Keep the pressure on, HB.
95! Blue 95! 44!
In the final 30 minutes, the 49ers completed the biggest land grab since the Louisiana Purchase. They left their footprints on every square inch of the Superdome, gained a stranglehold on the word excellence. And by game's end, the team of the 80s had stamped their imprint on pro football history.
Montana drops back to throw, looks over the field, goes for the end zone. Jerry Rice, touchdown 49ers! The Bay Area may begin its celebration earlier than anticipated.
Post pattern down the middle, and Montana spotting those safeties wide again, got it to it.
Joe Montana ripped apart a Bronco defense that had permitted the fewest points in the NFL this season, and in the process, shredded every meaningful pass record in Super Bowl history.
Come on, we ain't gonna lay down. Let's go, baby!
With the greatest of ease, the 49ers turned the NFL's biggest game into the Big Easy.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
The underrated 49er defense created 4 turnovers, and battered by this Red Army, the Orange was crushed.
Montana is still in the game at quarterback. Hand off to Craig, sweeps to the outside. He's into the end zone. Touchdown 49ers. And haven't we said that a few times today?
The boy is going to party tonight.
Well, what you're seeing here now is what people are going to call the best team that's ever played.
Performance again today could very well be his 3rd Super Bowl MVP award.
Congratulations for everything.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hey, what,
In the end, the victorious 49ers were not playing against the Broncos, but rather the Packers of the 60s and the Steelers of the 70s, staking their claim as the best team ever, the undisputed masters of the game. The city of San Francisco has long symbolized greatness. And so has the football team that has represented the city since 1946. Nearly 5 decades ago, a love affair between a city and its team began. And today, that affair still burns with passionate intensity. For all those years, the 49ers' colorful procession of gallant men has provided San Franciscans with a shining source of pride and a deep and rich vein of pure football gold.